Thank you. Over to the school band.
Ladies, raise your right hand and place them over your chest. Gentlemen, raise your right hand. National Pledge. We, the people of Papua New Guinea, pledge ourselves united in one nation. We pay homage to our cultural heritage, the source of our strength. We pledge to study society based on justice, equality, respect, and prosperity for our people. We pledge to stand together as one people, one nation, one country. God bless Papua New Guinea.
Thank you. May all be seated. I'd like to call upon now IBS School Debate Coordinator, Ms. Vani Davis, to give the welcome address.
Thank you, MC. Honorable Governor Luther Wenge, the Principal of Coronation College, Mr. Mbuge, the judges, the participants and the schools and the teachers, and also our fellow colleagues. Welcome to our first annual debate competition here in Ley, Morabe Province. Are you guys happy for this competition to be here? I think it's first of its kind that we're having here in Ley, and we are also privileged to come over here to also organize a debate competition, and I'm sure you will have, prepared for today. So for the next 3 days, we'll be going through the debate competition to debate about the issues that are affecting the nations today. I'd like to also acknowledge, before I give my welcome speech and get into details regarding the debate competition, I think first and foremost we'd like to acknowledge our official sponsor, NU Guinea, who is our official sponsor for our efforts with this debate competition, and also the participants from Ley to your efforts will also be taken care of once we declare the winner for Ley Morabe Province to travel to Port Moresby for the national debate competition to challenge Kwikila Secondary, who are waiting patiently for that. So welcome everybody, and are you all excited? I'm sure participants, just chill out and go up on stage and have fun. So today will be a preliminary day where everyone will go on stage. I'm sure you all have your scheduled programs to debate against which schools. The purpose of this initiative that IBS has taken in this direction, the school debate competition, is to develop the young leaders for our nation, and which you can see that's our theme for this debate competition. And we initiated last year with NCDC, and we have started off with 10 schools, and this year it has increased to 18 schools, which MC has already announced. And 18 schools, and the numbers have been increased, and hopefully next year it's going to increase as well. And this year is the first one in Ley Morobe province. Next year we're looking at going into Rabaul and Mount Hagen so we can have regional competition in this Papua New Guinea. So I'm hoping that through this we'll bring confidence and maturity in going and debating about the issues affecting the nations. And I'm sure the youths of tomorrow have their views, an opportunity to go up on stage and display your talents, display your potentials of what you can become in the future. So this is an opportunity given to you. You should embrace it, and we would like to acknowledge the teachers who have been, driving this, working together with the partnership with the teachers who have been driving this, working towards this, and I'm sure that they have worked very hard in this, and would like to acknowledge the teachers for that. And can we just give them a round of applause for your teachers in embracing this, because we all believe in you guys, and as teachers, they are looking at developing you guys as well. So as youths as leaders for tomorrow, you guys have to take it very seriously. So you look ahead what you want to become so that you can build this nation in the future. So with that, without further ado, I won't say much, but welcome to the first annual debate competition, Ley Morobe province. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'd like to acknowledge Honorable Luther Wenge and call him up to the stage for a few remarks.
Yeah, Mistress of Ceremony, Mrs. Vani Davis from IBS, an institution which has taken the initiative to organize the nationwide secondary or high school debate, who's here, and Mr. Winston Buge, the principal of Coronation College in the city of Ley, all the adjudicators who sit right there to adjudicate on the performance of the debate this evening, and all the students and the interested people who are here. I am, from the outset, I must say, I'm so delighted to be physically present here. And I'm so thankful that you have invited me to be physically present at the launching of this very important concept, debating competition for high schools. Let me say this to you, and I want to reflect my own experience when I was a student at Dreghafen High School. I didn't attend a high school here in the city of Ley. I attended Dreghafen High School, which is a very rural high school in the Morobe province. There, we used to have the debating competition in the school. We made a rule that nobody from 7:45 a.m. to 4:06 spoke Pidgin or a mother tongue. If you spoke Pidgin and mother tongue, you're going to be punished. And so we made sure that everyone spoke English. And by virtue of having everyone speaking English, I'm not saying that this is the only language that we must speak, no. But there is the importance of it. I'm going to come to it next. We made sure that everyone spoke English. And the debates were organized in the school. Debates versus classes. And we had 4 teams there. And it was between team versus team we used to debate at the time. And I can say that debating competition or debate is a very important concept for everyone, particularly who are growing up, kids who are growing up. Debate sharpens one's mental faculty. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter whether he's a bright kid or not a bright kid. But the habit of debating, oral speaking that is a great habit because it sharpens one's mental faculty. It helps one to do research. And it helps one to present the argument in a logical order and holds the audience or spectator or supporter who may be to the end and convince who is listening, or to some extent even can convince the opponent and beat them. So debate is a great habit. And I was a great debater without being boastful. I was a great debater of the school. I was a top debater. Nobody beat me, actually. You can go to the high school, check the record. And when I went to university, now don't get angry with me. This is true. Some of the boys and girls who went through Lay High School, Lay High Schools to me in Busu and all of them together, low high schools who went to university together, I found them hard for them to comprehend in the English language to me. I came from the rural high school, but I beat them. And we sat for exam, and I scored a top grade and went to law school. Because I'm able to write, research and write well, and I'm able to converse well. And I went to law school. And I'm a lawyer now. And I went to court. I had so many acquittals under my belt. Mr. Defending all money, I defend people, troublemakers, or assumed troublemakers, or presumed troublemakers. And I defended them in court. I ran the argument. It may be a very minute argument, but I ran it so well, at the end of the day, I break prosecution's case, and I get the man off the hook, or woman off the hook. Debate, great habit. In Parliament, I'm a debater. You can see the TV. I'm not being boastful. It's a fact. Parliament, people get scared. That is why they just bulldoze the bills. They cannot debate. That's why they bulldoze the bill. If you have good debaters in Parliament, they're going to debate. They will demand debate. Parliament and the country is entitled to see both sides of the coin. In every issue, both sides of the coin. Of course, at the end of the day, people who have the numbers will survive, prevail. Those who don't have the numbers, they will not prevail. But the argument is usually the best, whether in the opposition or in the government. But human through, they judge you from your argument. So debating is a great habit. And when you IBS initiate this concept of conducting debate for high schools or secondary schools in the country, I'm with you 100%. Surely I am. Believe me, I'm with you 100%. I'm going to support this wholeheartedly. If there's anything that I can do to support this cause, I'm available. I'm available. So I would hope now that you are going to begin to debate. Begin to debate. And it's also good, not just debating, but let what you debate, what you speak, be tested. You must allow for that. So I'm sure the adjudicators will allow, or maybe the master of ceremony, or master of the debate, will allow maybe 10, 15 minutes for audience to ask intelligent and constructive questions. And the debaters, make sure you answer them well. Don't run away from the points, answer them well. Because in real life situations, somebody will come to you, okay, Mr. Governor, this is what you said yesterday. But did you consider this? You may have the valid point to raise it to the speaker. So I will hope that 10, 15 minutes will be allowed to allow the audience to ask questions. And it must be intelligent questions, not a personal questions. It must be intelligent questions relevant to the issue. Must be asked. So you're not only learning to research and debate, but learning also to rebut other counter-arguments that's going to come. I hope that with this debate, it will sharpen your mind. One day I'll be an old man with a stick, probably in the village, and I will see maybe the best debater today may become a governor of the Morobe province, because he won the skill and heart here. I hope this will happen. I wish you well, and hope that the debating competition will be well, and it will soften your mind and give you the skills to help you in life. And I'm not sure whether in what language you're going to debate, in English or Pidgin? In English. And let me say this, so many people graduating from University of Papua New Guinea and Unitec with an engineering degree or a law degree or a, science degree. But when I ask them some questions or debate on the issue, I see them as a grade 6 student, unable to communicate. That's a great disaster for this country. Disaster. So he must have wasted his time at the university, or kind of say, man. What you learn, when you test it, you must show it that you have graduated with a law degree, you have graduated with an engineering degree, you have graduated with an economic degree. So I'm sure with this debating competition will help you along. And with not only the debaters, but it will also help the audience. So I want to see the thousands of kids here, or hundreds of kids here. So even if they don't debate, they come and ask questions to the debaters. Together, we learn the skills. Thank you, and may I congratulate in advance, because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to go for another engagement, not married engagement, but another engagement. I'm going. So I congratulate those who are going to win today. And I hope the adjudicators will do what they're supposed to do, be fair in their judgment. It is my greatest pleasure to stand before you here and declare that the first IBS debating competition in the Coronation College opened, and it's open to you now.
Please, another big round of applause for our Honorable Governor. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hello, are you there? Good afternoon, Morobe Province. Okay, welcome to the 2010 IBS School Debate Competition. This is the first of its kind, as they said, for the Morobe Province. This year we have 6 schools debating, and the Coronation College, we'd like to acknowledge them for hosting it for this year. Please, a round of applause to the hosting school, Coronation College. Thank you for using your facilities. IBS, with its presenting partner, which is Kundutu, our national television service, is proud to bring this debate. We had the NCD and Central School debate 3 weeks ago, like I said, and this is the Morobe one. The winner for the Morobe School debate is going to challenge the winner or the finalists of Port Moresby and Central debate, which is Kwikila Secondary School. Before we start, I'd like to again acknowledge our sponsors, which are the Papua New Guinea Vision 2050 Center, National Capital District Commission, Anigni. Other sponsors include Daltron, Supreme Industries, Remington, Ella Motors, Bank South Pacific, Corps, Datanets, and of course Audio X Production here and TEPNG, Lay Travelers Inn, and the Morobe government, the Provincial Education Department. And also this debate is proudly supported by the Honorable Governor Luther Wenge and as well as the NCD Governor, Poes Paco. So we really acknowledge the two governors for supporting this national debate. I'd like to thank all teachers, like Vani said, thank you for all your efforts in preparing the students for this debate. For your information, I am Rose Kwabal. I am Assistant Lecturer, School of Business at IBS. I'll be your Mistress of Ceremony for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Three judges in front, we have Mr. Vincent Buge, the Principal of Coronation College. He's one of the judges. Please make welcome Mr. Buge. We have Mr. John Eko from Central Business Systems from Port Moresby. Please welcome Mr. Eko. And for now, we have Mrs. Palmer from Lay Secondary School. Please make welcome. The judges, when the schools are debating, then we'll have another teacher to stand in for them. Okay, so for now, we have Mr. Buge and Mrs. Palmer for now, because when the schools are debating, we'll have a change in the judges. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge our timekeepers as well. They'll be controlling our time sessions. Please acknowledge them. Thank them for taking the role. Okay, before we start, I'll run through the debate rules. This is round one. There's going to be 2 rounds. Round one is today, just to start off. Tomorrow is the actual one. After tomorrow, 4 schools will be selected to the semis. And then from the semifinals, 2 will advance to the finals on Wednesday afternoon. And the finalists will fly with us to Port Moresby to debate with Quickilla Secondary School. Whoever wins that national debate in Palm would be the ambassadors for Vision 2050. That means they'll be going around Port Moresby, wherever Vision 2050 Center goes and do awareness and stuff in other provinces. These ambassadors will go with them. Okay, so if the winners here go over to Port Moresby, whoever wins, then they'll be the ambassadors for Vision 2050. Okay, so the schools were given the topic in advance, so we hope all the schools are prepared. The judges, they have education list criteria there. Everybody that goes up there, they'll be judged accordingly, so there won't be any biasness here. To the audience, you will be providing, there will be time provided for you to ask questions. One will be directed to the government side, one to the opposition side, but that's going to come later. And when you are asking questions, please no personal attacks to the participants. Also, the participants, we encourage you to answer diplomatically, so also no personal attacks to anyone or any schools. We're here to develop each one to be young leaders, so we should be considerate in what we are saying. Okay. Now, are you ready for this session? Yeah? Sorry for keeping you waiting. Okay, so for round one now, we have Bugeni Secondary School. Please make welcome Bugeni Secondary School. They will be against Malahang Technical College. After that, we are going to have Bumayang Secondary School against the Coronation College. And then last but not least, we will have Busu Secondary School against Lay Secondary School. Ladies and gentlemen, please now let me introduce you to the stage, the first 2 schools. Put your hands together to the Bugendi participants. Participants are Linda Asai. You may make your way up to the stage now. Stephen Philip, Maino Maika, and Moana Nahuet. Please make welcome the Bugendi team. They will be against Malahang Technical High School. Malahang Technical High School, the participants are Ephraim Guare, Jason Watty, Delmendo Gavia and Sahajid Ali. Please make welcome the Malahang Technical High School. Their topic of debate is PNG is rich with natural resources, yet poor. Bugandi Secondary School is going for the topic. Thank you, Governor. Please acknowledge the Governor as he leaves. Okay, thank you. He said he's going to come for a presentation. Thank you, Honorable Governor Luther Wengen. Yep, so Bugandi Secondary School is going for the topic, and Malahang Technical High is going against the topic. Now, let me call upon the first speaker of the affirmative team.
Thank you, Mistress of Ceremony. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
The educators, the timekeepers, the audience. We the beginners, we are going for the topic, Papua New Guinea is rich with natural resources and yet poor. Yes, it is true that Papua New Guinea is rich with natural resources, but yet we are poor in relation to the benefits. Before I go to my point, I would like to introduce my speakers. My second speaker will emphasize on health and education. The third speaker will emphasize on economic and infrastructure. And the fourth speaker will emphasize on governance and accountability. As a first speaker, I will brief you on the topic law and order, but before I start, I will define the topic natural resources and construct what poor and rich means. Natural resources is useful things inherited by our forefathers, which come from God. Richness means to be full and completely satisfied, must be seen and enjoyed. Poor means lacking in basic human Poor means lacking in basic necessary human needs. Even though Papua New Guinea we are rich in natural resources, with majority of our land being owned by ourselves, when it comes to benefit, not all Papua New Guineans see, enjoy, or feel the benefits. That is why we are poor. We, the government side, are going for the topic, and we will convince you why we are saying this. Why are the health services and education so poor in a country as ours? In a country rich as ours? Why is infrastructure and development such as road and bridges so poor in a rich country as ours? So when Papua New Guinea So when Papua New Guineans have this kind of question in mind, you will come to comprehend the perspective that we are coming from. For instance, law and order. Law and order are getting worse every now and then. Every now. It is because of that we are involving. Because of that, it is because that we are poor. How can we say that we are rich when there is rise in law and order related issues? So as you can see from my point, I've stressed, even though the country is so rich in natural resources, we still lack very basic things that determine the richness of our country.
Thank you, first speaker of the affirmative team. Now I'd like to call upon the first speaker of the negative team.
Thank you, adjudicators, timekeepers, audience, and other fellow debaters. I am Ifram Gwara, the first speaker of the negative, and on my left-hand side, I have my fellow debaters. The second speaker is Jason Wati, the third speaker is Delmendo Gebbia, and our last and final speaker is Shazir Ali. We're here to tell you that PNG is rich with natural resources and PNG is not poor. I totally disagree with what the first speaker of the affirmative have said. PNG is not a poor country. And about the definition of the poor, she mentioned something on our basic needs are not met. Well, as far as I know, the basic needs are food, clothing, and shelter. And you tell me, do you have those? Yes. Well, what's the point of calling PNG poor if you have the basics? I would like to define to you 3 terms, and the definition for these terms were taken from the Children's Encarta 2007. The first word is poor. On my definition, poor is having very little or nothing at all, and poor is measured on the day-to-day life of an individual person. The second is rich. Rich is having enough or more than enough. And the third one is luxury, having more than enough. My fellow citizens of Lay City, please do not get yourself confused with being rich and luxury. You do not have to live a luxurious life, having more than enough to consider yourself rich. Like I've said already, if you have the basics, food, water, and clothing, you are rich. And do not let anyone stand in your way telling you that you are poor. Whatever you say now, expatriates come into our country always and tell us that PNG is truly a blessed country. It has everything. They do not say only natural resources. They say everything. If you are saying that PNG is poor, try compare PNG to other countries like India and Africa. For instance, India, 87.2% of its population, or should I say 903 million people of its population are living under the poverty line. They live on $1 to $2 per day. You tell me, do we ever experience that in our major population in PNG? No. And one more question. Have any of you eaten for the past 2 days? Yes. Okay, if you've at least eaten, did you ever share your plate of food with 5 other members of your family? No. Well, does that classify PNG as being rich or poor? Rich. Well, PNG is rich. Whatever you say now, you will reap in the future. And bear in mind, my good citizens of Lay City, we will be the next leader of this country. And PNG needs positive leaders, not negative. If we want to bring PNG forward, we need to come up with positive perspectives to bring this nation forward. And to whoever that comes and stand here and say that PNG is poor, indirectly, you are saying that, look at me, I am a big lazy bum. I just relax and expect free handouts from the government. I will say it again. PNG was not poor in the past. PNG is not poor today, and PNG will never be poor in the future. Before we come up with such statements, we must consider or come up with proper factual facts and figures to prove that PNG is poor. Otherwise, I say that PNG is a rich nation. Thank you.
Thank you, First Speaker of the negative team. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the affirmative team.
Thank you, Chair Lady, the guest and the opposition and the audiences. As I'm on the affirmative side, I will stress about education and health perspectives of our country. You cannot live without basic needs. You need those health and education to live. Our government. My outline of speech is on education and health perspectives of our country. Yes, we are poor in relation to our benefits, the advantages of our resources. Our richness simply means plentiful, wealthy, abundant. We are not rely on any donors or outside people. We rely on ourselves, our own country, our sovereign funds. Richness is measured with our living standard, and just compare our living standard, how we are. Are you living to the satisfaction of your life? Richness must be seen, feel, and enjoyed. Yes, we are poor in relation to our economic and law and order. Our law and order, from the locals down to the up to the higher levels, there's robbery, break and enter, and all necessary things happening all from the locals to the higher sector to the governments. This is a sign of Papua New Guinea is being poor, and we are trying to bring something to satisfy ourselves. My point of critics is about development issues on government and health education that indicates that whether we are rich in natural resources, but yet we are poor. The indicators that tell me that we are poor is health. We are lacking in facilities. Example like Angao, cancer machine is sitting idle doing nothing. It needs human and manpower skills, people to use those machines to help the patients out there. Our life expectancy is decreasing. And the infant mortality rate is decreasing at the same time. The preventable diseases are not prevented well. We need to have skills people to use those machines to help those preventable diseases, instead of leaving our people dying like pigs and dogs. And education, facilities are not there for the schools to resume. Some of the schools are starting late. Instead of starting at the time, they are starting late. Our literacy is getting lower. We are lacking in skills and technology. That's why we cannot work in big projects like LNG. They are taking expatriates from other countries. That's a sign of saying that we are poor. A number of school leavers are increasing yearly. On the streets, everywhere, you will see a grade 12, grade 10, and uni students just sitting nothing, doing nothing. This is a sign of poor. To conclude, therefore, our country is rich with natural resources, and yet we are poor. Our governments are not accountable for what? For the grants that they receive to help our countries to boost. Thank you.
Thank you, second speaker of the affirmative team. Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the opposing team.
Good afternoon, parents, students, my fellow debaters, the judges, and the timekeepers. Before I go on with my points, I would like to take this time to appreciate and thank some of the effort and time of some of the very important people. They have contributed towards the success of this event. I am the second speaker of the negative side, and I'm going against the topic, Papua New Guinea is rich with natural resources, yet poor. As a citizen of this nation, a student of today, and a leader of tomorrow, just as you, I'm very disappointed with this point. People of Papua New Guinea, I'm standing on a land. The name of this land is Papua New Guinea. And the statement reads, Papua New Guinea is rich with natural resources, yet poor. It's talking about you and me. We have the trees to build our shelters, yet we have no shelters. That's what they're meaning. We have land to cultivate, to grow our crops, yet we are hungry. This is what the statement means. And I'm not going to tolerate this statement as a citizen of this nation. If you are saying that Papua New Guinea is rich with natural resources and yet poor, then you are telling me and the people here that they are rich with land, forest, rivers, and minerals, yet we have no shelter to rest, no food to eat, no water to drink, and no clothes to wear at all, which is not happening at all. Are you with me, audience? The basic human needs are food, water, shelter, and clothes. These things are all in our natural environment, and if we are rich with natural resources, then there's no point of being poor at all, because we have all the basics in life needed. According to the point that the second speaker of the affirmative have just given, I will say some of my points to rebut on that. It's all talking about corruption. And audience, people of Papua New Guinea, don't mix yourself up with corruption and poorness. Poorness is concentrating on individual basic life of a human being. Corruption is the result of misleading and mismanagement of the resources that we have, and this is not my problem, and this is not your problem to consider. My next point is on the richness of human life. Human beings, just like you and me, lived in the past, and their lives were much better compared to ours today. Why? They had needs like you and me, but they understood the purpose of being on earth. They breathed oxygen from the air, they cultivated the land to produce their foods, they drink water from the fresh rivers, and they enjoyed life. This was because they had the nature. If you and me today still have this nature, then what is the reason of being poor? We have the basics. To conclude, a rich person is not a person with more money, is not a person who is driving in luxury cars and living in luxuries. A rich person is a person who has goals and ambitions in the future, and is a person who can be able to experience and see the next day. And if you are here with goals and ambitions, as we are students, as we are called students, then there is no reason of being poor. Papua New Guinea is not poor at all. My next point, to summarize all my points, is independence. If Papua New Guinea is an independent country, then we must understand that our needs, our wants, and our infrastructure, development, and everything is in our hands. You and me, because we are independent. Okay? We don't need anything from any country. An independent nation is a rich nation that can be able to survive on its own. It has its resources there to help its economy, and also the people are able to survive on their own. If you are on the audience here, if you 100% know that you will eat something in the afternoon, you will eat breakfast tomorrow, you will go to school on a transport or on a car or vehicle, and you will enjoy life in the future. And if you have goals and ambitions sitting here with me, PNG is not poor at all, because you are contributing to this country. And if we are okay, Papua New Guinea is not poor at all. Thank you for your attention. God bless.
Of the opposing team. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of the affirmative team.
Good afternoon, the MC, the judges, the timekeepers, the audiences, the supporters, and finally, the opponents. I, as the speaker on the affirmative side, I'm taking economic perspective. There are 3 points that is under that topic. The point number 1 is the infrastructure, followed by poverty, and finally the sovereign fund. When we look at, it is true that PNG is, on the other hand, it's very poor when we look at economic perspective. When we look at infrastructure, here in Leh, we have potholes here, and yet you are saying we are rich. I ran through, which road there? Yuan Road in. When I ran through, the truck went up and down, which makes me very, very sad about ourselves. And also, the road doesn't, it is not connected to the remote areas of the Papua New Guinea. According to June 23 National, they are saying that people from an area in the Western Island province, they are forced to walk 5 kilometers to get PMB to Mount Hagen. Instead, you are saying that we are rich. I'm not really agree with this one. And the other one, poverty. PNG is right under the poverty line in terms of standard of living. Not everyone enjoys the good living. Well, the very few enjoys luxury. While the majority out in the villages, they are living a very simple life. They are fighting for their own living. And the other thing that makes PNG poor is the sovereign fund. Well, PNG doesn't have its own money to cater for the other developments, and as well to fight against deadly diseases or sicknesses such as cholera. Just last year, Australia, through World Health organizations and other non-government organizations, helped PNG to fight or stop the cholera outbreak. This is a clear indication that we are very poor. We don't have any all these resources available here. We are not enjoying it. Still, we have the road system here. We have a problem here. And to summarize that, the causes to this will be stressed by the speaker to come. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, third speaker of the affirmative team. Now I'd like to call upon the third speaker of the opposing team.
Good afternoon, people of Papua New Guinea, the educators, the timekeeper, and my fellow debaters. I'm the third speaker of the negative side. I'm here with frustration and disappointment, about what the third affirmative speaker have said, stressing that PNG is poor. As a Papua New Guinean, I really disagree what he has mentioned. He said about sovereign fund. The outsiders invest sovereign fund because they see resources in our country. They don't invest nothing. They see something in us, that's why they invest. They give money to us. God has created this earth with natural resources, and He provided us with basic needs. You talk about infrastructure. If you have infrastructures, if you have food, can you live another day? Infrastructure cannot help you the other day. If you have food, water, clothing, you'll see the other day. Poor is classified when an individual lacks the basics of life, like food, water, clothing. If you haven't got this, you are poor. We have the abundant natural resources in our land. Therefore, 100% so, these resources can sustain our livelihood, and poor can be prevented, and poor cannot be experienced. In quoting from the assessment report, PNG assessment report 2005, about 97% of the land in PNG is owned by customary land. And 100% so, you are sitting down there, you have your land back in the village, and this land can be used to cultivate, graze, farm, to generate income, to sustain your needs and wants and your daily life. PNG is not poor. If you say that PNG is poor, you are a lazy person. PNG is not poor. It is the lack of good planning and unsatisfactory leadership and governance over the past decades. It is the primary cause of poor progress in relation to potential. The difference between rich and poor does not reside in the available natural resources. The difference is the attitude of people being poor. Therefore, I am not convinced that we are poor. PNG is rich with natural resources, but not poor. So, we have to rephrase the statement and say, PNG is rich with natural resources, yet lazy. Thank you.
Thank you, third speaker of the opposing team. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the affirmative team.
Thank you, MC. Thank you, audience. Thank you, adjudicators, the opponent team, the opposition, and fellow debaters. I guess the attention of the crowd has already been drawn away to the topic that the affirmative is coming from. We are stressing that PNG is rich with natural resources, yet poor. We are coming from the perspective that we acknowledge the fact that we are rich in natural resources. We have trees. According to my definition of natural resources, resources that can be used for economic exploitation. That's what my definition to natural resources is. To bring benefit to you as a Papua New Guinean sitting here, to bring equal benefits. That's where poor comes in. Are you equally benefiting from the developments that are happening in regard to the economic exploitations that are happening with these natural resources? That brings me back to the topic that I'll be emphasizing. I'll be emphasizing on good governance and accountability in our nation that is lacking. Okay. Before I continue on with my point, which is good governance and accountability, I would like to first of all make a few remarks on what the opposition have presented. Firstly, the the points that the opposition are coming from, in which they say that as long as you have food, as long as you have clothing, you are rich. But what about health services? When you have food, when you consume food, and when you are sick, where do you go? That's the point that we're coming from. We lack in that area. We lack in the health perspective. Why are our health services deteriorating in rural areas? Why are education infrastructure not reaching the rural areas? How can we say that we are rich when people in the rural areas are dying? They have food, they have clothing, but they are dying because of what? Curable diseases. That's why they are dying out there. Is that a sign of richness? That's not a sign of richness. Okay, that brings me back to my point, which is governance and accountability in relation to our 5 national goals and directive principles. Now, our second point declares that we declare our goal to be for all citizens to equally participate in and benefit from the development of this country. Papua New Guinea is a developing nation. You see developments happening. And as a Papua New Guinean, are you directly benefiting from every development that is happening? As a citizen of Ley, do you drive around Ley City in a freeway or in some kind of in a road that is it's very suitable for you to drive around in? You go on a very bumpy road. Does that determine the richness of your country? Does that make you rich? It doesn't make you rich. You're traveling on a road that is so bumpy, and yet you say, you just to acknowledge the fact that you have food, you have clothing, but how can you say that you are rich when it comes to the infrastructure development? We are still lacking in that area. And when it comes to good governance and accountability, to the 4th point that I'll be emphasizing, that is the 4th point that states that when it comes to our environment and natural resources, it says that Papua New Guineans must benefit from these resources, and we must sustain our resources for future generation. Now, with this current amendment of the Environment Act, is it in the best interest of the nation as a whole for us to benefit? With the Maladina bill that is coming up, are these the things of national interest, that equality and participation come in which our government stresses that we must all equally participate in to benefit from those things? Are we actually benefiting from these things? We are not seeing the real benefit. That's the point that we're coming from. We're saying that we are rich with natural resources, yet when it comes to the benefits, to actually feel, see, enjoy, and be satisfied, only a handful of people, they can really see, feel, and appreciate the richness of this nation. Whereas back in the rural areas, we are lacking in basic services that are supposed to go there. You have food there when you consume food, but when it comes to when you are sick, how can one say that they are rich when we die of curable diseases and these kind of things in the villages? So how can we say that we are so rich when so many basic things in our country are lacking? So in the perspective of the opposition, one point that they have stressed that we must speak positive things for positive things to happen in our country. But positive statements can be made, but it is determined by these positive statements must be determined by actions. Actions taking place now, then we can actually see, feel, and benefit from the changes that are happening. We can actually understand what is happening here. So that's the point that the affirmative is coming from. We acknowledge the fact that we are rich with natural resources, but when it comes to the benefits, Papua New Guinea is lacking in that area. When it comes to health and infrastructure, health and education, infrastructure services of this country, we are lacking in that area, and that is why we say that we are poor. Poor in the sense that we are still lacking in these areas. I mean, when it comes to accountability of our leaders, we must stand for our leaders must be accountable for the decisions that they make, so that when the decisions that they make in relation to us as the citizens of this country, they must be accountable for the decisions that they make, and that can satisfy us, or that can stand up for the effects that we the citizens are facing. So, as you can see, the point that we're stressing here is that even though with the abundance of resources, the benefits are not equally seen and shared among us all. The benefits are not equally seen and shared among us all, and that's the point that we're trying to stress here. So, in line with one of the points that the opposition have also stated in regard to sovereign fund. Sovereign fund is our own money, money within our own country that we can use to develop our country. At the moment, Papua New Guinea is lacking in that sovereign fund too. So how can we say that we are rich when we lack in that sovereign fund too? So these are aspects, these are the aspects that these are the points that we are coming from to determine, to point out that Papua New Guinea is still lacking in that area, lacking in the area that we as a nation as a whole must come to benefit and truly enjoy and feel satisfied with what of the resources or whatever that we have. So that's the point that we're coming from. So to summarize, it seems like with the vast amount of resources, it is such a pity to see that even though we are blessed with those resources, little or basic, only a little few amount of development are happening. And even though in this nation, developments are happening, not every Papua New Guinean we come to see and realize and feel the effects of this development. So that brings me to the end of my talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker of the affirmative team. Now I'd like to call upon the final speaker of the opposing team.
Good afternoon, judges, fellow debaters, the audience, and if there's some visitors here. As the fourth speaker of the negative side, I am not convinced with what the opponent side has said. Before I raise my points, I'd like to hit back on some of the wicked points that were raised by the opponents. They said something about health services and infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, do not get yourself confused. This is nothing to do with poorness, our poorness. This is to do with our leadership. And they've said something about law and order. Law and order problems. Law and order is the result of our own laziness. Laziness leads to poverty, prostitution, poor mentality, and other unlawful activities. Another thing is about receiving aid donors. Ladies and gentlemen, aid donors is to do with what happened in the war. Because other countries, they come in giving aid because of the destruction they've done to us during the war, to our villages, to our people, our ancestors, our grandfathers. They cannot come individually and pay us individual compensation. That's why they come as aid donors, donating schools, donating hospitals for all of us to use. Now, they've said something about potholes in Lake City. Let me ask you a question. Did you walk to school? Or did you walk to work with parents here? Or did you walk to be here? Come on, I need answers. That shows that we are not poor, because people can afford to buy spare parts when their cars are breaking down. They've said something about benefits of our resources. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, that's to do with our leadership, not to do with us people. Let's come back. Let's see the short-term view rather than looking at the long-term view. They never really inform us on the death rates of people dying in the rural areas of villages where there's no health care. So I won't say anything on that because I'm not sure about that. People are begging in the streets. People are begging in the streets. They are simply begging in their own rich land because they are so lazy to go back to their home ground. You work the land to sustain your living. Now back to my points. This statement of topic itself, it's a very poor statement. Therefore, we could say that PNC is not poor, but the words in the sentence itself is very poor. Being poor comes in many ways. Like if someone is living in the rural areas or in the village, may have no money at all, that does not mean he or she is poor. No, as long as their basics of the day is being met. Speaking of basics, as you and I know, is to do with clothing, food, shelter, and water. Now you see, our ancestors or grandfathers were not poor because they owned the land. And now, you and I, we own this land. That is one sign that indicates that we are not poor. Whereas in other countries, it's the state that owns the land. As we are living in the city, some of you may be comparing the lives of the people in the city with each other. But poor living, as I have said, poor living in the city is the result of your own laziness. Come on, we gotta get things right. If you're saying you're poor, that shows how lazy you are. To go back to your home ground and you work the land to sustain your everyday living. Now, question to your audience. Do you really think that we are poor? No. Comparing PNG to India, they are human beings, so they describe them as slum dogs, living and surviving in the dumping areas. They are consuming garbage, junks, simply because they don't have the land like you and I to cultivate. And then in order for them to consume a healthy meal for the day. No. Another important thing is we should look at is PNG, we don't suffer from diseases like malnutrition, or we don't go through starvation. No. Even I don't hear or read anything about it in the media. If that's so, then PNG, we are okay. We are not poor. Comparing to other countries like Africa, people are dying every day because of hunger. Their children are placed in the care center simply because the parents cannot afford to support them. That shows how poor they are. But in PNG, we don't have such things like this. That shows that PNG, we are okay. Our country or community may not be well developed to our satisfaction, but as long as we are surviving and living in this comparative world. If you can sustain yourself with the living standard of today, like I said before, go back to your land and you work the land to sustain yourself because you own the land, and that does not prove that you are poor. PNG is rich with natural resources and we are not poor. Thank you.
Please, a big round of applause to the two teams. Okay, audience, for your information, because of time factor, we were going to leave out the question time. And so tomorrow onwards, we're going to have questions because we still have the other 2 or 4 schools to come up and have a field on the stage. Is that all right with you? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I'll ask the 2 teams. Bugandi Secondary School, please. Round of applause to them, and the Malaham Technical School, please. You may shake your hands and leave the stage. The judges are going to do remarks, overall remarks on all of their performance after the last 2 schools' debate.